Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be sharing 5 driving tips that are going to help you pass your driving test. You might be watching this video or you might be going through the internet to see if there's any secret or any shortcut to passing your driving test. Well, I've been teaching as a driving instructor for 15 years and I've taught many people to drive and pass the driving test. And one thing I can tell you, there is no shortcut or secret to passing your driving test. It's going to take work. So if you're looking for some genuine tips, then stick around. So tip number 1 is plan ahead. It's very important that you plan ahead on what you're going to do. So if the driving instructor or your driving examiner on your test tells you to do something, for example, tells you to turn right or left, think about what mirrors you need to check, what lane you need to be in, what speed you need to be at, what gear you need to be at. Make sure you plan all this in your head first before you carry out the exercise. The examiner will give you enough time to do what they've asked you to do, so don't rush. So yeah, that's tip number 1, is plan ahead. Tip number 2. So, let's say you're on your driving test and you've made a mistake and you think, oh, that's it, it's over now. What's the point in carrying on? Don't think that, because chances are that mistake may not be a serious fault. And what happens, I've had a lot of pupils like this, that what they'll do, they'll think about that mistake and then they'll make loads of other mistakes. And usually the mistake that they're thinking about was a minor mistake and it'll lead to something serious. So once you've made a fault, carry on with the rest of your test. And even if you know it's a serious fault, don't think, oh, that's it, there's no point carrying on. You've paid for your driving lesson and your driving test, so you might as well just carry on. And then at the end, you'll see if you've passed or failed. And even if you have failed, then you've genuinely failed on a fault that you need to work on, rather than faults that have just accumulated because you've just gave up. So yes, don't give up and don't keep thinking about the fault that you've made. Carry on with your test. Tip number 3, don't keep looking over at the driving examiner's marking tablet. Yes, if you keep looking over at their tablet or their iPad or whatever they're marking you on, the chances are this is going to take your concentration off the road. And plus, if they have marked something down, there's nothing you can do about it. Just carry on with the rest of your driving. And driving examiners don't always mark the fault immediately as soon as you've made it. It might not even be a fault that they're marking. So you're just going to make yourself more panicky or worried, thinking that they're marking things down that you've not done. So concentrate on the road ahead, and then the examiner will tell you what they need to tell you at the end of the test. So yes, don't look down at the driving examiner's tablet while driving on your driving test. Tip number 4, don't rush to book your driving test. Listen to your instructor to let them tell you when you're ready for your driving test. They know what's needed to pass the driving test, and plus, more importantly, they know what stage you're at with your driving. So they're going to help you tailor that advice to suit your needs. If you think you can just book your driving test and just kind of pass it by chance, that's not the case. You need skill, and that's going to take work. So when your driving instructor says you're ready for your test or you need some work on it, take that advice on board, because that will help and increase your chances of passing your driving test. Tip number 5, try to do a mock test before your practical driving test. I always try to do a mock test with my pupils before I take them for a driving test. Not only does this help them identify the faults that they've made and what they need to work on, it also prepares them for the driving test, knowing what to expect at the driving test. So make sure when you do the mock test to do it in advance, so you're not leaving it to the last minute. So if you have done a mock test and you've then made faults, you've got enough time to work on them faults before your actual practical test. you may need to do a second mock test just to see that you've got rid of the faults. So there you go, that's 5 driving tips. Because you've come so far in the video, I'm going to give you a bonus tip. So tip number 6. So tip number 6 is don't tell everybody you have a driving test. Now what I mean by this is, so for example, if you're on social media, you don't necessarily need to put it all over social media, oh, I've got a driving test coming up, because this is just going to add to the pressure. Because while you're on your driving test, you're going to be thinking, oh, I need to tell so-and-so I've passed, or I need to tell so-and-so I've failed if you failed. And this is just going to add to the pressure. Obviously, you might need to tell your employer that you might need to take the day off for your driving test, or a family member, that's fine. But usually I've found with my pupils, the less people that they tell, the less pressure they have, and the more chances they're going to increase their passing their driving test. And then afterwards, once you've passed, you cannot put it on your social media, I've passed my driving test, hooray. But if you can, avoid telling too many people before, especially if you're not confident and you're a nervous person. It's just going to add to your nerves. So yeah, try not to advertise everywhere that you've got a driving test. Advertise it afterwards, once you've passed. So the 3 key points on when you need to remember when to check your mirrors are before you signal, before you change direction, and before you change your speed. So let's talk about signal one first, which is MSM, which stands for Mirrors Signal Maneuver. So for example, you're driving along and you want to take a right turn junction. So you would check your mirrors center and then right, and then indicate, and then you would turn. You don't want to be checking your mirrors indicating at the same time, and you don't want to be indicating first and then checking your mirrors, because these would be marked as a fault on your driving test. You want to first check your mirrors center and right, and then you want to pause to see if there's anything around and act on that, and then indicate, and then carry out the maneuver. And the maneuver part can be divided into subcategories. So for example, the MSM routine could be MSPSL. So the PSL at the end would be position, speed, and look. So once again, you're going down this road again, you're turning right, so you use your mirror center and right. Then you would indicate right, and then what you would do is position your car to the lane that you need, and then you would slow the car down, speed, and then you're looking to see if it's clear to turn into the junction. So let's say you're on your driving test and you want to use the MSM routine correctly, or the MSPSL routine. What you would do, for example, let's say the examiner says to you, can you please take the next turn on your right? What the examiner is now looking at is to see if you're looking in your mirrors. So what you want to be doing is looking in your center mirror and then your right mirror. And then the examiner will be looking to see if you're indicating or listening out for the indicator sound. And then the examiner will be looking ahead to see if you're getting the correct position of the vehicle for that specific turn. And then once you've got the position, the examiner will be looking at your speed, whether you're bringing the speed down and how you're bringing that speed down as well. So, for example, you don't want to be coasting, which would be putting the clutch down first rather than the brake. So what you want to do is bring the speed down first with your brake, and then once you're changing the gears, you then put the clutch down, change into the correct gear, and make sure you bring your clutch up for that gear to take effect. If you're driving on an automatic car, then obviously this would not apply, but if it's a manual car, this is what you want to be doing. And then once you've done that, the next bit is the L, which is look. And now you're looking into the junction you're turning and looking for any oncoming traffic. So this is how you would use the MSPSL routine in your driving test and even after you pass your driving test. So yeah, the other point when you would check your mirrors is change of direction. So let me give you an example. So let's say you're driving along on a dual carriageway and you want to change from your left-hand lane to the right-hand lane. What you would do is check your mirrors center and right to make sure it's clear for you to go over to the right-hand lane. Be careful here as well, because vehicles in your interior mirror will seem to be closer, but in your actual door mirror they'll seem to be further away, which I'm going to talk about why this is further on in the video. So yeah, once you've checked your mirrors center and right, make sure it's clear, And then obviously you can change lanes, making sure you let other people know by indicating. And when you come back in, same again, if you want to come back into the left-hand lane, you need to check your mirrors and let other people know that you're going back into the left-hand lane. Another example, let's say you're not changing lanes, but you're just changing direction. So you're driving along on a road and you're in your own lane and you want to go around a parked vehicle, skip, or an object on the road. You want to make sure you check your mirrors center right before you go around. And then when you come back in after that object, car, vehicle, whatever it is, check your mirrors center and left to make sure it's clear for you to go back to the left. And make sure you leave plenty of room when you pass in that vehicle. For example, it might be a car, somebody may open the car door, so be careful of that. So yeah, before you change direction, make sure you check your mirrors. Another one you need to do is check your mirrors before you change speed. And now you might be wondering, why do you need to check your mirrors when you're changing your speed? So let me give you an example. So let's say you're driving along on a road and you're doing 30 miles an hour on a 30 road, and there's a sign coming up for 40 miles an hour. So after that sign, if it's safe for you to proceed to 40, you want to get up to 40 miles an hour. Before you do this, you need to make sure you check your mirrors, especially center and right mirror. If you check all three, it's not a fault, but especially center and right. And the reason for this is, if there's a vehicle that starts to overtake you at the point when you're increasing your speed after that 40 sign, the other vehicle that's overtaking is going to struggle, and then this could cause an accident. So it's very important to check your mirrors before you increase your speed to make sure there's no dangers or hazards. Not just increasing in speed, decreasing in speed, you need to check your mirrors. So let me give you another example. So let's say you're coming up to some traffic lights ahead, and they're on green, let's say, and you're approaching these traffic lights and there's a vehicle behind you quite close. You want to make sure that you don't brake too harshly at these traffic lights if they change. So you can anticipate this. So if the traffic lights do change, because they have been on green for a while, and there's a point that they will change, that you take this into consideration when you slow down at the traffic lights. So yeah, earlier on this video, I said I'd talk about why some objects appear differently in the mirrors, let's say in the interior mirror, than your door mirrors. So for example, if you're looking in your door mirror, the object seems to appear further away, but when you look in your interior mirror, the object seems to appear closer. Why is this happening? Are your eyes playing tricks on you? No, they're not playing tricks on you. The reason why this is happening is due to the design of these mirrors. So let me explain what I mean. So the mirror that's inside the car, the interior mirror, is similar to the mirror that you maybe get inside your house, so it's flat surface. The door mirrors are slightly different. They're curved slightly, convex mirrors. So the reason why they're curved is because they can see further out into the road and give you a better field of view. The disadvantage of this is that the objects will appear further away than they actually are. So the objects in your interior mirror give you more of a true image of how close it is than they are in your door mirrors. So just going over the key points that we've covered in this video. So we've spoken about the MSM routine, which is mirrors, signal, maneuver. And then that maneuver can be divided into subcategories. So that would be PSL. In full, MSPSL, which stands for mirrors, signal, position, speed, and look. And then I went over the key points on when you need to be checking your mirrors. So that would be before you signal, before you change direction, and before you change your speed. And then I briefly spoke about why objects appear further away in your door mirrors than they do in your interior mirror. So all these little key points will help you not only pass your driving test, but hopefully make you a safer driver after you've passed your test. Well, that's it for this video, and I hope you found it helpful. Please share it to anybody else that may find this video helpful too. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and you can see any more content that I put out relating to driving. Also, if you could please give it a thumbs up, that will help the YouTube algorithm share it to other people that may find it helpful. Well, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.